our mindset, right? It can pull us in so many different directions. And one of those directions can be forgetting about ourselves, forgetting about the importance of taking care of ourselves, thinking we have to do everything, even though we're stressed and pulled in every direction, we have no energy left. So, if any of those things really speak to you, you are going to love our conversation today. I'm Tanya Otterstein-Liehs, mindset coach, and this is Mindful Conversations. With me today is Sarah, and we're going to deep dive right into this really important conversation. Thank you, Sarah, for being here, and I'm looking really forward to today's conversation.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me on the show. I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, especially, when we have this passion about these topics, right? We can just speak
Mhm.
wholeheartedly, authentically about, and that's what mindful conversations is. It's just we have that topic, we go with the flow, and just be authentic and speak to our heart. And I love that, from what I'm seeing, that's exactly what you're doing, Sarah. So can you tell us a little bit what brought you to this point today in your life to go from the corporate world into full heartedly, talking about mindset?
Mhm. Oh, it hits me when you even say that, to think back where I was a few years ago. It seems so far away that I guess, I mean, 6 months ago, I was still working in corporate. So it seems like years since I've been there. Um, what brought me is that I started to, well, first I had a failure. I didn't get the next rung on the corporate ladder that I thought I was deserving to get. And it gave me time to stop and pause and reflect. And I started to be like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who is Sarah Kinlan? What does Sarah Kinlan want to be when she grows up? Right. And I knew I always wanted to be a mom, and I was a mom, and that part of life was great. But in my corporate world, I just wasn't, I was giving them so much and getting so little in return. And it just wasn't lining up with my values. So I started working with a coach, and I started learning about intentionally using my mindset. I was an optimist, always an optimist. But when I started realizing how powerful my mind was, how my thoughts control my actions, control my results, it blew me away. And I studied it and had to learn more about it and practiced it. And I would try things and they wouldn't work. And I would be like, oh, because I had the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
And I would try other things and they would work. And it was because I had the right mindset. And I learned how powerful our brains are.
Yeah.
I watched like the thoughts in my head about my husband. If I changed how I thought about my husband, it really changed how he behaved.
Yeah, right.
Like,
It's so true. We don't realize how these hidden feelings and emotions really can set forth what our mindset is, right? We can think
mhm,
that we're thinking about all these wonderful things and these goals and, how
mhm,
wonderful life is, but really deep down, is that what you're truly feeling? I really feel that your heart and your mind, there's a connection there.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And as far as, this being a mindset with that connection you realized, what is a message that you found, Sarah, really came through and that you love sharing with other people out there, other women?
mhm. I think that's the most powerful message, is that your thoughts control your actions, control your results, right? And we can train our mind. So what I do with many of my clients and audiences is I talk about repetition.
Mm.
So if you want to train your mind to think in a different way, you can do that through repetition. I have a saying, it's on my wall right here. It says, I am strong, I am beautiful, I can do all of this.
Nice.
Every time I open my journal, I write those words. Every time I step in the shower to wash my hair, right when I'm here, I am strong, I am beautiful, I can do all of this.
Yeah,
My brain doesn't know any different anymore. I've said it so many times.
yeah,
I am strong, I am beautiful, I can do all of this. And the I can do all of this is part of getting out of that overwhelm, right? Because if I'm feeling overwhelmed, no, my brain knows I can do all of this, whatever all of this is, right?
yeah. I
Mhm.
love how you said that you write it in your journal every day because that's something I do is gratitude journaling. And the first thing I've always written for, oh, I don't know, like 6+ years already, is I'm grateful for my health because it keeps me alive and
Mm.
living.
Oh,
And
I love
when,
that.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And when you, it's like you said, when that mind, your brain is constantly hearing those messages that are very powerful, then
Mhm.
it, at the end, it ends up believing it and truly acknowledging it and
Mhm.
truly allowing it to happen. So you saying, to yourself, and constantly your brain is now, it's engraved in there that you're stronger, you're beautiful, you can do that. So
Mhm.
I find that when you have that empowering a thought, that what potentially could have been stressful or overwhelming becomes, no, I got this. Like, I'm going to break it down. If it doesn't work right now, that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
because then you release that negativity, that failure feeling. Like, what are your thoughts on that, Sarah?
Yeah, I love that. It's so crazy how many women are held back by that fear of failure,
Mhm, mhm.
right? Whereas if you wake up every day thinking, I can do all of this,
Yeah.
it's a different way to approach life. When I talk about fear, I talk about it as a brick wall. And you see that brick wall, and to get to the other side, you might need a jackhammer because it's a brick wall. But if you instead picture that fear as clouds, fluffy pink clouds, and you grab a hold of a friend's hand and you dance on through that wall of fear, you can do it. It's a beautiful little visual, but when you're faced with fear, think of that brick wall, turn it into clouds and go on through. Because on the other side is magic. On the other side of fear, you're learning something new. Whether it goes good or bad, doesn't matter. You learn something new. It made it easier for the next time. I'm working with some people who are scared of, they always say, oh, your videos are so good on Instagram. And I said, yeah, my first one was terrible. Like you have to do some bad ones to
Yeah.
get to the good ones.
Yeah.
I've been recording videos of myself every day now for over a year. It didn't just happen that way, right? So you have to you have to do it bad a few times before you get good at it, right?
Yeah.
It's called a practice.
Exactly. The filming every day, I call that B-roll.
Yeah.
you know and I'm going to come back to something that you mentioned, Sarah, because uh you mentioned that we as women, we can do everything, but can we really? I find that when we feel we can conquer everything, then times we feel we have to do everything instead of allowing ourselves to make choices to say, okay, I have these 10 things on my list, but in reality, if I do these 10 things, I'm becoming overwhelmed. I'm becoming overstressed. I'm going to pull my hair out because I'm going to think I'm a failure if I do not do all 10 things.
Right.
So break it down. It's like, hey, what can I accomplish today, right now? What's
Mhm.
the next thing? So,
Mhm.
what are you thinking on that? Saying one hand, because that is the way we think, right? That I can do everything and everything, and I have to,
Mhm.
versus, well, let's break it down, and I'm going to allow myself permission to say no to some of those things.
Mhm. Yes. Two things are coming to mind. I have enough time for everything that matters,
Mm,
right? And when we say I can do everything, I can do everything that matters,
mm,
everything that has to get done. Simple example. I have had a load of laundry in the dryer for 3 days now. Two times I've went over and said, I'm going to fold this laundry, and I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. I didn't do it. This morning, the laundry got folded and put away. It was not stressful. It was not hard. It
yeah,
just happened, right? So everything will eventually get done.
yeah.
If you're in a moment where you feel like you are pushing to get something done, that's probably the moment to just like set a timer and go lie in your bed for 15 minutes.
I love
Like,
that.
like if I can remember, and I'm guilty of it. I can remember like smashing dishes, trying to get the dishes done because the dishes absolutely had to get done right now. Like nobody's going to touch those
No,
dirty dishes if you don't do them right now. Walk away,
yeah,
come back in an hour, right?
exactly,
Come back in a
exactly.
day. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
So
love that, right? Because we put so much pressure on ourselves that we think we
mhm,
have to get it done, but if it's not done today, like the world's not going to fall apart. You know, the house is not going to, become more chaotic, I'll say. I don't know. But the
yeah.
fact that you're honoring yourself, like, okay, whatever
Mhm.
the laundry, it's not going anywhere. No one needs it right now. Like if they do, they can pull it out of the dryer themselves, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you mentioned, like, if I need to just take a break, take a break. I love that because that's something I've learned through practice as well. Is like,
Mhm.
I've been doing a long time and I feel, and what I'm hearing from you too is it's a daily thing. It's a daily reminder. It becomes a daily habit. It becomes easier to do and lighter and less stressed upon ourselves. And that's
Mhm.
something I find too is very fulfilling for my own mind as well as my own self-care and self-love is like, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just stop what I'm doing. Right now
Mhm.
in Canada, we're able to, depending what part you live, able to just go outside. Okay, I need like this 5-minute break, this 15-minute break, and just to sit there and be in the moment and listen to the birds and take a deep breath, enjoy my tea, whatnot, and then get back to what I was doing. And you're so much further ahead, and you're so much further, or I'm so much further relaxed and
Mhm.
able to finish what I was struggling to do. And I love that you follow those steps for yourselves because
Mhm.
I'm a strong believer we need to practice what we preach. If you
Oh,
and I are talking to other women about needing to do these things, but we're not doing it ourselves, when we talk about it, we're not being our authentic self. Do you
mhm.
want to expand on that, Sarah?
Yeah, love that. The moment that you feel you can't take a break is the moment you need it the most, right?
Yeah,
And I say it to myself all the time. As soon as I'll have times where I start to feel overwhelmed and like I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And I go to the yoga mat or I go to the forest or I just go take 3 deep breaths in my bathroom. Like I put my hand on my heart and I listen.
yeah,
My heart is beating. I am doing that. I'm making my heart beat. Like, how amazing am I? Right? 3 deep breaths
yeah,
can change my whole perspective.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
And
So, yeah,
and yeah,
definitely.
yeah, so true, right? And I love how you said the deep breaths because you can do it anywhere, anytime. No one's gonna know. I've done it before in public
Mhm.
places. Like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of shit. Excuse me, and say a public
Yeah.
space is like, okay, white bubble, take
Mhm.
3 deep breaths. And I love that, you're honoring yourself to do that. And then that you talk about that and teach that, if you're somewhere doing a public speaking event that I've noticed too when you do that on stage, all of a sudden you can feel the people in
Mhm.
the crowd doing that as well, and you just feel this,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, this is good. Have
Yeah.
you noticed that too and experienced that?
Yeah, I'll never forget. So I hosted an event where I was doing the keynote and I got on stage and I just went, let's do this.
Yeah,
And that's how we started. And everyone in the audience took a collective sigh with me and we went for it
yeah,
together,
yeah,
right? And it was so powerful, so amazing. But yeah, our breath, like I think, I don't know, we take 30,000 breaths a day, but probably way more than that. But if we did like 10 intentional ones, our life would be so much easier,
yeah.
right? Like
Oh,
just 10. I've started when I am in the grocery store. I find it, you're in the grocery store, it's loud, there might be music playing, whatever. You're gathering all this food, it's all costing way more than you think it should cost. And you get to the checkout and they're like pushing your stuff through as fast as possible and you're trying to pack it and it's getting loud and kids are crying. Thankfully, they're not mine anymore. Um, but I get into my head and I hum Amazing Grace inside my brain. Hmm.
nice,
Just for me.
nice.
The
Yeah,
rest of the world can do whatever they're
yeah,
doing. It's Amazing Grace is happening inside my head.
yeah,
And it makes it so much easier.
yeah. Now I've got it in my head. Do you ever, you hear a song on the
Yeah.
radio and darn it, it's in your head all day?
Okay, next time you're grocery shopping, think of me.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Everyone's going to be singing Amazing Grace now in their head and taking deep breaths after they've watched this episode.
that's
Or maybe
good.
as we're talking it, about breathing, they're doing it. So, oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah, I'd love to know, you're talking about all these things that you're doing and, when you're like say in the grocery store, what's one of the most important things you're doing right now in your life?
Hmm. Oh, it's so difficult to answer that question because I was thinking about this of all the women that I've been working with lately that are helping me on my journey, right? From being on a podcast with you, so like I've been on lots of podcasts. I've worked with lots of different therapists. I've worked with coaches, but I think my favorite thing, okay, I can't say one favorite thing, two favorite things. One is I have a wonderful employee. So I love having an employee. My social media manager, Julieta, I love her. I love leading people. That's like something that will never go away from my corporate life. It makes me happy to lead other people and build their confidence. And the second thing I'm doing more for me is I've been lifting weights. So I've been working with a personal trainer lifting weights, and that has been so impactful on so many aspects of my life. I went golfing the other day and I like drove the ball and my son was like, "Mom, putting in the work on the off season because I drove the ball so far."
Yeah.
But it's from the weight training. My hormone fluctuations have like totally leveled off from the
Yeah.
weight training. So yeah, I would say those two things are what's making the most impact on me lately, but there are many, many things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that because I don't, and maybe you said for a reason, I don't know, because that's like I'm a personal trainer. I just haven't recertified myself, but yeah, that was, one of my careers for like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
25 plus years, right? So
Yeah.
movement, even before I became a fitness professional, AKA personal trainer, uh, movement exercise was part of my life. And you're right, like you feel, when I don't go to the gym, I can tell because
Mhm.
I'm low on energy because I've got that old
Mhm.
energy stuck in me and it hasn't been sweated out or worked out, and you get this
Mhm.
regained sense, and like you said, you gain the strength and you do feel your hormones more leveled out, your stress levels are gone, and just I find that I get in my, when you're working out, after you're done with your personal trainer and then you're doing your own thing, you're kind of in your own zone and you're paying attention to nobody but your own body and about your own mind. And, movement is so, so important, whether you're at the gym, whether you're going for a walk, you're running, you're cycling, whatever. So I love that you mentioned that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my saying too. I am strong, right? So
Yeah.
strength, like physical strength, but I am also strong to get through those fears
Yeah.
and push forward in my business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The physical strength plays such a role in all aspects of my life,
It
right?
does, right? And movement creates longevity, right?
It
Like
does.
I'm, 55, and it's like, one day perhaps my husband and I will be grandparents, and we want to be able to move with our grandkids, whether it be running, whether it be cycling, whether it's like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's that
Playing baseball,
longevity,
yeah.
yeah, feeling
Yeah.
youthful and just having the strength, to do stuff. And, with a tap on the shoulder, I love when people say, "You guys are how old?" Like, no
Yeah.
way. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, like
Um,
my birthday is this month. I'm turning 47. Like I love getting old. It's a
yeah,
privilege
yeah,
and I feel great. I'm like a wine. I'm getting better with age. It's great.
yeah, exactly, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And we become less, I think, critical. We start to accept ourselves more. Now, I shouldn't say everybody, but there's a lot of women that still struggle with themselves and do not allow themselves to be who they are and feel they have to be, somebody else. So, and that's a
Mhm.
whole different topic. We've kind of touched on that a bit, but I'm feeling a lot of energy from you, and I feel that a lot of that comes from, maybe there's a ritual you do every morning, and what helps motivate you to get out of bed, especially on those days where you're maybe lying in bed and it's like, oh, okay, I gotta get up today. You
Yeah.
know, what is
Yeah.
that motivational factor that, because there's a lot of people that struggle with that, but helps you get up
Mhm.
and go in the morning and get out of bed?
Yeah. What gets me out of bed every day is I have a very clear goal. I know what my goal is. I'm so happy and grateful now that I've had for the summer. My goal is all about having the best summer ever and helping other women do the same.
Mm,
So every morning I'm getting out of bed thinking, what am I doing for fun today? How am
yeah,
I inspiring other women to have more fun this summer?
yeah,
That's my goal for the summer. So It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good way to get out of bed. For the past 2 years, my goal was I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm a world-renowned speaker, coach, and educator. And that got me out of bed every
Yeah.
day. I was building my business, I was building my speaking career,
Yeah.
I was so getting my degree in education. Like I was excited to get out of bed. So I love when you say to someone, what's your goal? Have you written it down? I write it in my journal every morning. If I don't write anything, I write that at least so that I know it's in my subconscious. I'm taking action every day towards my goal without even knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And how fun is this goal for the summer? Just have fun.
I know, eh? It's
Like,
you gotta have
yeah,
fun, right? Even if it's one small thing. And I say too, sometimes people think fun has to be something exclusive and expensive. It's like, no, if it's like just going for a walk and being in the moment and
yeah,
enjoying or riding your bike, like that's fun, right? Like
yeah,
we need to look
yeah,
at I think that with people comparing themselves to other people, they see it's supposed to be, especially with social media, what, oh, but they're doing this and they're like, stop
yeah.
comparing. You're like, what is
No.
something that's simple that you enjoy, because
Yeah.
then the chances are stronger that you are going to do it.
Yeah, like my cup of tea in the morning. I love my cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah.
It makes me happy,
Yeah.
right? If I
Exactly.
add steamed milk, I'm really like having a great day. A little sprinkle of cinnamon on
Yeah.
top, like, whoo, yeah.
Yeah. Love it, love it,
So,
love it.
yeah, it can be simple. It doesn't have to cost money, right?
No.
The other day I was walking on at the University of Guelph campus, and the
Nice.
doors to Johnson Hall were propped up open for some construction work that was happening. And my daughter and I snuck in and I gave her a little tour. She thought we were being so like rule breaking. And I was like, we are allowed to have fun, Libby. Like, no, nothing's gonna happen to us if we get caught in here. Like, we're not like,
Yeah,
I'm
like what
just
are they gonna
showing you what our residence room looked like when we were kids, you know?
Yeah, like, what are they gonna say? It is like,
Yeah.
they be the like universities are open 24/7. Like it's okay
Yeah,
that
it's a
we're going.
public space,
Yeah.
so
Oh
but it
gosh.
was so fun, like, to show her the room, like, not the exact room, but
Yeah.
what the residence rooms were like when we
Yeah.
went to university way, way back.
Yeah, 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 yeah. My daughter's off to university in September as well, so that'll be
Oh,
a whole new, a whole new. Because my son stayed home for university. He's
okay.
going to his fourth year. My daughter's going off to residence for her university first year. So it's going to be like, I always say a chapter. We always have a chapter of life that
Mhm,
closes, and
mhm,
another one that opens. And I find that we
mhm,
need to really, you know see what the best thing was out of each chapter that closed, and looking forward to and being positive about the next chapter that opens, right? Because with
for
my
sure.
daughter, it's going to be the hardest thing when she leaves, but it's a new adventure for her, a new opportunity. So that's the positive, the exciting thing about it.
Mhm,
And with my son going into last year in September of university, it's like, wow. Oh, but this is a new chapter, right? A new life that'll
mhm,
be beginning after. So,
mhm.
the fact that you took your daughter to where you went to school residence, kind of like, wow, it kind of gave her new insight, and it's like, wow, this is mom's life, what it was at one point. Because kids can't imagine
Yeah,
that we were once young,
no,
right?
no.
Oh, love that, love that.
Yeah,
Oh,
like, you and
so
dad lived here? Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking, when it comes to quotes, Sarah, you mentioned one that you have written on your wall. Is that the quote of life you live by, or is there another one that you'd love to share with us today?
I have so many. I have this one on the wall that says, "The place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you."
Mhm.
So where you are right now is
Yeah,
where you're meant to be,
yeah.
right?
Oh
And there's
man.
a reason for it. Yeah.
I always say, sometimes when I can feel this energy now going between us, like I'm become
Mhm,
lightheaded, which means I can feel our
mhm,
energies are intertwining, being intuitive. And it's so interesting you mentioned that, because I find that, as a person that I'm a person that really pays attention to signs and symbols and
Mhm.
numbers. And
Mhm.
the numbers that have been coming to me really is in line with the quote that you just read.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting that you
Mhm.
read that, because often we get stuck and we question ourselves, like, why are we not moving forward, or why are we here right now when there's a reason for it.
Mhm.
And live in the moment and see, deep dive why you are here right now, and believe in yourself, right? Believe in yourself, and that it's meant to be, and what you seek, like your goal or my goal, what our dreams are, will take us to. We just need to stop and look at our surroundings right now, and that
Mhm.
lets us see what the next step is.
And pay attention to it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pay
and
attention.
trust, right?
Yes.
On the weekend, when the reason why we were at the University of Guelph, my son was doing a football camp there, and when he did this one play, I was videotaping it, and I brought the video camera up to the scoreboard, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh. Yeah.
I was like, "He is right where he's supposed to be,"
Yeah.
and, so I was filled with joy for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's what I'm seeing. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, or 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. Like all is like, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. I got it. I got it.
Mhm. And my daughter, she's only 10, but she's seeing these numbers now. She's
Yeah,
like, "Mom, look at the clock. Mom, look at that. Mom."
yeah,
Like all the time.
yeah.
So she
So
has a very strong intuition. It's
love it.
lovely. It's lovely to
Lovely,
watch. Yeah.
lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And as far as advice, Sarah,
Mm,
we spoke on so many really important um, topics, I'll say, or so many important words of wisdom. So, is there
mm,
any other advice that you would love to share with our audience today that you haven't touched on yet?
mhm. Yeah, the advice I wish someone would have given me is to love yourself first.
Yeah,
Like I was always told it's selfish to love yourself first, but it is not selfish at all. Love yourself, right?
yeah,
A lot of the things I'm doing now, I'm seeing maybe similar to results to what I would have seen in the past, but in such a different way because I'm going at it from a place of loving myself first,
mhm,
right? Like going to the gym, I'm doing that because I love myself,
yeah,
right? I'm
yeah,
not, yeah, it's great that I'm getting strong. It's great that I can drive a golf ball further. But it's because I love myself and I want to take care of myself,
mhm,
right? And I want to be able to love my family and
yeah,
have that longevity, right?
yeah.
So
S-
love yourself first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So true, right? We need to take care of ourselves first. We need to love ourselves first, because how can we give that care and that love to other people if we don't even do it to ourselves? Like, love
Mhm,
begins within ourselves, for ourselves.
mhm,
Like caring about somebody begins with caring about ourselves, for ourselves, right?
mhm,
So we need to, as women, get past that roadblock, get past that blockade of thinking you can't, because you
mhm,
deserve it. And when you
mhm,
deserve it, you start to see things in a different light, and the
mhm,
world in different light. And I find that when you give yourself that love, you care for yourself, then you have even more to give to
mhm.
people that really matter to you and that you want the best for them, primarily our family. So, and
Yeah.
if speaking of family, you know, I'm going to ask you this question here as our podcast is slowly coming to a close, Sarah. If this was the last day of your life, you cannot include family.
Okay.
What is the one thing that you would be most grateful for?
Oh, other than my family, what would I be most grateful for?
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I took the leap from corporate. For sure. I'm so grateful that I took the leap. It hasn't always been easy, but it's been fun. I've learned a ton and it's exciting and I have so much more impact beyond those four walls.
Yeah.
So
Love
that's
it.
been beautiful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you didn't exist today, Sarah did not exist. Why would the world need to create you?
Mhm. What a beautiful question. I think it comes back to the word love. I think the world needs Sarah to nurture them, to love them, to be there for them in whatever capacity that is. Mhm.
So, can I change one word of that?
Sure.
From your I think, which is like, am I doubting
Mm,
myself too? I know.
I know.
I
Yeah.
know the world would need to create Sarah to help show how to love yourself, how to love others, how to love and have kindness.
This is what I have on my desk. Love is your superpower. A friend wrote me that note.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And the best thing that happened to you this week so far?
Ah, I think the golf game on Canada Day, we went golfing. It was awesome. I really enjoy golfing with my family. My daughter's just starting, so she drives and putts, which is
Oh,
great.
lovely.
And my son is getting better and better, and my husband and I are close in skill. So it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, I love it that you're doing it as a family. So, Sarah, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for having this beautiful conversation that,
Mm,
the true message of, that mindset and how
mm,
we can shift it to transform it to a mindset that's full of self-love, full of self-care, full of knowing we are unstoppable and
mm.
we can do as long as we believe in ourselves, we can accomplish anything we want to. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or
No,
overnight or next week. But when you have in your mindset that I can accomplish this, I can set my goal because I love myself, because I take care of myself and I deserve this, that it's
I do.
going to happen. So thank
Mhm.
you so much. And for all of you, thank you again for listening and watching another episode of Mindful Conversations. Let me know in the comments what was your biggest takeaway or what message did you hear that is going to allow you to transform your own mindset. And of course, as you go to bed this evening and you lie there about to fall asleep, think about the best thing that happened today because there's always something that was wonderful. And as you wake up in the morning, either write it down or think it out loud or think it in your mind what you are grateful for, whether it be one thing, three things, or five things. This is Tanya Otterstein-Liehs with my guest, Sarah Kinlan, saying thank you very much for being here, for listening, and love who you are. Until next time, enjoy your day.